Good day, everyone. Our topic is all about the economic globalization, poverty, and inequality. So, what is economic globalization? Economic globalization is the economic activity that was formerly local becomes organized on the global scale. So, economic globalization improves the efficiency of enterprises and plays a great role in increasing the size of the economy of every country. Economic development improves living standard and level of education of people. So, what are the benefits of the economic globalization? In general, globalization decreases the cost of manufacturing. This means that companies can offer goods at a lower price to consumers. The average cost of goods is a key aspect that contributes to increases in the standard of living. Consumers also have access to a wider variety of goods. Okay, so economic and trade globalization is the result of companies trying to outmoney over their competitors. So in the economic globalization, the businesses like Coca-Cola is all around the world and they are trying to outmoney over their competitors. So, for example, while you search for the cheapest place to buy shoes, companies search for the cheapest place to make those shoes. They find the cheapest sources of leather, dye, rubber, and of course, labor. The result is that labor-intensive products like shoes are often produced in countries with the lowest wages and the weakest regulations. So, what is the labor-intensive? Okay, the labor-intensive, it refers to a process or industry that requires a large amount of labor to produce its goods or services. This process creates winners and losers. So, do you think who is the winners of the process? So, the winners are the corporation and their stockholders who earn more profit. They also include consumers who get the product at a cheaper price. And who is the losers of the process? The losers are the high wage workers who used to make those shoes. Their jobs moved overseas. But what about the low wage foreign worker? A lot of workers are thrown into hazardous working conditions, but it is also true that many workers in developing countries are at least making more money. These jobs pay above average wages. People want these jobs, and although the pay would be unacceptable in developed countries, they are often the best as, as a alternative. So here are the examples of the economic globalization. First it is trade and exchange, production, corporations, labor, direct investment, and the capital. So what is trade and exchange? So it is the international flow of goods or services. So just like for this example. Okay, so this person is trying to give to this person a money. And this person also is giving the goods to the person. So there was an exchange. So this was the example. That was the example of the trade or trading. Okay. Next is the creation of goods spans or border. That was the productions. So it is the process of combining various materials inputs and immaterial inputs in order to make something for consumptions or the output. It is the act of the creating an output, a good or services which has value and contributes to the utility of the individual. So another is the corporation. So corporation is increasing multinational. It is the legal entity that is separate and distinct from its owner. Under the law, Corporations possess many of the same rights and responsibilities as individuals. They can enter contracts, loan and borrow money, sue and be sued, hire employees, own assets, and pay taxes. So another is the labor. So labor is the sum of the movement of workers, not too much. Labor is the effort that people contribute to the production of the good and services. So the next is the direct investment. It is buying a factory in another country. A company in one country opening its own business operation in another country. The direct investment can also involve acquiring control of the business assets already operating in the foreign country. So next is the capital. So capital is buying intangible goods in another country. So that's all the example of the economic globalization. Okay, so what is multiplier effects? So multiplier effects means an increase in one economic activity can lead to an increase in another economic activity. For instance, investing in local businesses will lead to more jobs and more incomes. Like for these examples, the government is spending £3 billion on building the roads. So this is the £3 billion. And then this involves the workers and the suppliers. So this is the workers and the suppliers. And the GDP rises into £3 billion. In the next period, this year too, workers spend part of this extra income in shops and for the transportation. So these are the shops, transportation, and the suppliers. This creates an additional economic output of £1 billion. This. Therefore, the final increase in GDP is £4 billion. So this is the final increase in GDP. Okay, from the initial injection of £3 billion. In this case, the multiplier effect is 1.33. Okay, that was the example of the multiplier effect. According to the economist Paul Krugman, as cited in New York Times July 8, 2013, the Bangladeshi apparel industry is going to consist of what we would consider sweatshops, or it won't exist at all. And Bangladesh, in particular, really needs its apparel industry. It's pretty much the only thing keeping its economy afloat. But not everyone agrees to this, especially to the opponents of economic globalization, called the outsourcing of jobs as exploitation and oppression, a form of economic colonialism that puts profits before people. A few call for protectionist policies like higher tariffs and limitations and outsourcing. Others focus on the foreign workers themselves by demanding they receive higher wages and more protection. The root of many arguments against economic globalization is that companies do not follow the same rules they do in developed countries. Some developing countries have no minimum wage laws. They do not have regulations that provide safe working conditions or protect the environment. Although nearly every country bans child labor, those laws are not always enforced. So economic globalization has helped millions of people get out extreme poverty, but the challenge of the future is to lift up the poor while at the same time keep the planet livable. So they're trying to solve the poverty problems in their country. The developed countries were able to invest in the developing nations, creating jobs, opportunities for the poor people. Okay, while they're trying to help the poor people, they are also trying to keep the planet livable. Become kumbaga balance siya ba sa kanang sa atong planet o sa atong economy. One of the best ways to help those in extreme poverty is to enable them to participate in the economy. This applies to developing countries in the global marketplace and the individuals at the local level. So the perfect example is the microcredit. Okay, so what is the microcredit? Microcredit is a small loans extended to the poor to undertake self-employment projects that would generate income and enable them to provide for themselves and their families. It is by Yunus, 1999. Okay, so in 2006, a Bangladeshi professor named Muhammad Yunus won the Nobel Peace Prize for implementing this simple idea, the microcredit. He have loans an average around of $100 to low-income people in rural areas. The borrower, who are mostly female, often use the money to fund plans that could raise their income by starting small businesses. So, si Yunus de ay, mo na siya ang kanang nag-implement na siya og kanaang idea about the microcredit. Nagpaut lang siya og kanang small amounts. The average small amount is the $100. Ang iyang gipautang is kanaang mga poor para dili pug kaayo gamay-gamay lang gipautang para pud makakuan sila ba makasugod sila og kanaang negosyo, makatugo sila gamay nga business para kuan po sila income, makakuha sila income. Then ang kasagaran nga borrower ani kay mga female.
Hello everyone. I will going to discuss about the global income inequality. When we say globalization, inequality was closely related because international inequality refers to the idea of inequality between countries. This can be compared to the global inequality, which is inequality between people across countries. Global income inequality is a significant disparity in the distribution of income between individuals, group, population, social classes, or countries. Example of social inequality is included the income gap, gender inequality, healthcare, and social care. In other words, wealth is an abundance of resources in a specific country, which means that wealth inequality speaks about distribution of assets. Examples: values of home, automobiles, personal valuables, business, savings, and investment. With business and investments, we can contribute the distribution of assets from other countries. There are two main types of economic inequality. The first is a wealth inequality. It refers to the net worth of the country and distribution assets. It takes into account all the assets of the nations, maybe they be natural, physical, and human, less liabilities, so that the individuals of groups of money or materials assets have income interest from other countries. And second types is the income inequality. It's distributed throughout population and higher income inequality. The less equal in distribution in the income gap, it's have economic inequality gone wrong about paying differentials between men and women workers, because in our country ug babae ka, gamay kag sweldo. And second types and then, is the income inequality. Mas taas ay mo sweldo kaysa sa babae. Throughout population and higher income inequality. The less equal in distribution na inequality sa pagdawat sa atong income gap, bisag pareha ta nga workers anang usa ka company. And just like the picture, it's have big difference or work because of the lack of education, have gap between their income and status, and have inequality of work and salary, so that there have many economists believe the world's poorest people gain something from the globalization. Gross domestic product is a measure of nation's economic activity that is based on of all the money earned for the all goods and services produced in the nation during specific period. It includes the sum of all wages, profits, and taxes, minus and subsidies. In order to measure global economic inequality, economists usually look at income using GPD. Gross domestic product is a measure of nation's economic activity that is based on of all the money earned for the all goods and services produced in the nation during specific period. It includes the sum of all wages, profits, and taxes, minus and subsidies. Milanovic 2011, an economist who specializes in a global inequality, explained this by describing an economic Big Bang wherein the Industrial Revolution caused the differences among countries. According to Milanovic, the global inequality described like an economic Big Bang because through explosion of industry and modern technology, some nations become economically developed while others were developing. Although it is the Industrial Revolution that allowed a significant inequality in the past, economic globalization and international trade are forces that are responsible to today's global income inequality. So technology also contributed to worldwide income inequality. It complemented skilled workers but replaced many unskilled workers. And now, we are modernized economists. Mostly jobs are more technology based, generally requiring new skills. Because of the skill based technological change, workers who are more educated and more skilled will thrive in those jobs by receiving higher wages. For inequality refers to the phenomenon of unequal and or unjust distribution of resources and opportunities among members of given society. Greater economic equality benefits all people in all societies, whether you are rich, poor, or in between. That's all. Thank you.